this series, we're calling it A Long Way Home. It's built around the story of the prodigal son. And so today we're going to be talking about, whose son are you? And to get this going, sometimes we don't always get the whole story. Anybody ever gone off without hearing the whole story? Come on, yeah, You just hear part of it and you just like take off and you're about 5 minutes into this and you realize, oh shoot, right? Well, like for instance, this week a prominent Christian leader made a comment about Beth Moore, and it just kind of blew up, and about women preachers and all this kind of stuff. And so I'm not trying to defend him or anything like that, but here's the thing, that throughout the Scripture, there have been a lot of women that have done some pretty significant things, okay? And so what that means is the whole story, it takes all of us. It takes all of us, right? Okay? So I don't know what it was like when you were a kid, but when I was a kid life was pretty basic, okay? We had sibling battles. Anybody ever get in a fight with your siblings? No, I'm not talking arguing. I'm talking about we'll beat the bark off each other, kind of, Somebody's going to be crying, right? In fact, I just thought about this. My dad's solution for us fighting was to make us fight. Well, Dad, he just beat the crap out of me. Why do you want to watch? And so, there's the sibling battles, and then we play football in the street. Remember playing football in the street? Car, right? Okay. Tree forts, and, go outside and play. That was the whole thing, right? So see, this was a world of minimal entertainment and huge families. Matter of fact, my family produced 7 children. Yeah, like no entertainment, yeah. 6 boys, 1 girl. Our house always smelled like a locker room. There was this dirty sock smell everywhere in the house, And so, and matter of fact, my dad's second wife came with 6 of her own kids. Yeah. Try living in it. See, so what I'm saying is that when it comes to personal space or identity, seriously, my dad had a timer for the bathroom. You're ding, you better be doing something because the door's going to open, right? And so it was just crazy. But anyway, but see, that's a lot of kids for anybody, right? Okay, so the deal is that the world that we live in now insists on individuality. It insists, it demands, you have to recognize my individuality. Now there's anything wrong with that, because we all have our particular gifts and callings, our own spot in life. But see, that's only part of the picture. The whole picture is it honestly does take all of us. It really does. And see, sometimes in our life we get to the places where we think in order to move forward we have to exit certain parts of our life. But you don't understand, that's really not how it works. It takes all of that to make your story, okay? So and the world we live in could not function if everybody was every man for themselves. It wouldn't even work. So it really does take all of us. So when our culture's focus is on every man for himself and you got to get the recognition, what happens? That's where the stuff that you see is. Have you ever noticed that crazy stuff gets a lot of attention? Especially on Facebook. People put stuff on Facebook, it's like, you just want attention because that is stupid. Oh, no, Zeke tells me that's a bad word, so I apologize. But anyway, so it's really not the best idea. It's not the best idea for us to separate from what we're part of simply because we want to be recognized. Just have that identity. So matter of fact, this is my driver's license. And they call this an ID, an identity. This is not my identity. This is just a little bit of personal information about me. See, it's got stuff like your age, and some of you guys, you lie about that. I believe you. I don't care. It's Social Security, so you got to convince, right? Okay, it's got height. Okay, that's pretty good. Hair color, is that hilarious or what today? Right, Chelsea? Doesn't mean anything. Hair color. Flavor of the week, like Baskin Robbins. What's it going to be now? Eye color, your contacts. This kind of stuff. So it's just this is not who I am. This is not my identity, right? And so it's just some information. So the problem is when we're trying to be somebody, sometimes it's at the cost of everybody. And that's not okay. So now, when I was growing up in a family like that, we had that particular DNA in our family. Matter of fact, this is a family photo of 6 of the kids at the time. Okay, you guys see that? Is it up on the screen? No? Okay, there it is. Okay, so just give Nick some time. He's a little slow. And I was looking at this, I'm thinking, I'm the only kid smiling. That's bad. But have you noticed that they all look alike? There's not a nickel's worth of difference in DNA across the whole thing. My poor sister. Really. If my dad would have gave her the same haircut he gave the rest of us, nobody would have ever known, right? My dad used to cut all of our hair himself. He bought a pair of shears, our barber clippers. And he would tell us, don't sit down. And in 10 minutes flat, he would cut 6 heads. Boom. But anyway, but see, people would come up to me, random strangers, say, hey, aren't you Lon Mast? How do you know that? Because our mannerisms and our features were identical to our father. Okay, so here's the day. So in this, we have to understand that we have this DNA that is imparted to us, right? And so in my teen years, I thought I wanted my own identity. And I thought in order for me to have my own identity, I had to reject my father's identity. Okay? Now, this is not a surprise. A lot of us have experienced that somewhere in your family, where you had somebody in your family that wanted their own identity, and they thought they needed to reject the rest of the family to do that. Right? Now, see, they don't want your identity. They don't want your DNA. They don't want to be around you. They don't want to be like you. Just want your stuff and your money. Okay. I want to keep my phone, keep my room. Oh, sorry, that's a different message. But see, I tried really hard to be not him. But what I didn't realize is that without him, I couldn't really be all of me. Okay, because it's all connected. So see, we've inherited a certain DNA. No matter how you want to describe it, DNA doesn't change. No matter what color you dye your hair, right? Okay, so we've inherited DNA, and we've also inherited certain natures. So it's nurture and nature. Okay, so there's part of us. So in some ways we respond like where we came from. In some ways we are like where we came from because that's just the DNA in us, right? So here's the deal. So that DNA and that lifestyle that we grew up in, it comes with defects and benefits at the same time. How many of you guys know that your parents were defective? Come on. I mean, shoot, you got a list, right? Now, how many of you guys can point some of your defects to your parents? I heard a guy say this, it was kind of funny. He said, I've got this figured out. When my kids grow up later in life and they're in counseling, and they come to me and say, hey, Dad, you messed me up, I got my response. Oops. Well, see, here's the deal. So now here's where this gets. So the trick of life is to overcome the defects and embrace the benefits. Isn't that the key to life? To overcome the defects that are handed down to us by whatever. And I realized this later in life that our folks just did the best that they knew how to do. They just didn't know a whole lot. Now you should do better because you're supposed to know more. You told them your whole life you know more than them, right? But they did the best they could. So we're supposed to be able to sort through and overcome the defects while still embracing the benefits. But the problem is, oftentimes when we reject the entire DNA, when we reject the relationship, along with that we lose the benefits as well. So there's got to be something different. So for a guy like me, it took me a long time to realize that I had 2 fathers. You think, huh? I had one father that I was born to, and another father that I was born again into. There's 2 natures inside of this guy. So the trick is, I can't just simply reject the father that I was born to. But I have to really embrace the born again Father that I was born into and let that nature be my primary nature. Is this making any sense? Okay. But the problem is we don't do that. We try to reject those parts. So because John chapter 3 verse 6, Jesus told Nicodemus, he goes, in you there is flesh and there is spirit. Both together. Right? And so now what I didn't know in those early years, and I didn't understand, is that I didn't have to run away from where I came from to embrace who I'm supposed to be. I didn't have to run away. Okay? See, I don't have to abandon those parts of my story to write new chapters in my story. Because those are still parts of my story. Doesn't that make sense? But see, when we're trying to gain our own identity, I want to be me, I want to do it my own way, do my own thing, I want people to look at me. Oftentimes it's at the expense of those old chapters. You're going to find out later in life you're going to need those. So see, this is what makes the story of the prodigal son so relevant, because we've all seen this in our families. Matter of fact, there's a lot of us here, we've been the prodigal son. Anybody got any experience of being a prodigal? So watch this. Here's the way the story plays out. I'm going to do the Dave Mast version. You can kind of follow along if you can. But it's in Luke chapter 15. It starts at verse 11. It said, a certain man had 2 sons. And the younger of the sons went to his father one day and said, okay, Dad, I want my share now. So the father divided up everything that he had. He gave it to his sons. And not many days after that, the younger son took all of that and he went away into a far country. And while he was in that far country, he wasted everything he had doing dumb stuff. Anybody ever waste stuff on dumb stuff? I'm going to try this again. I'll call out the liars today right now. How many of you guys have wasted parts of your life on dumb stuff? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, so he wasted everything he had, everything, doing dumb stuff. Then there arose a severe famine in the land, and he got really hungry, began to be in want. Now listen, here's a great parenting skill. And no one gave him anything. If you want things to get better for your prodigal son, prodigal daughter, stop taking furniture to the pig pen. That was free. That was free. So there was a severe famine in the land. He began to be in want. And he joined himself. Remember, say joined. Partnership. So he joined himself to a citizen of that country who sent him into the fields to feed pigs. While he was there feeding the pigs, it said he would have gladly filled his belly with what the pigs were eating. That's when he came to himself. Anybody ever have a come to yourself moment? Here's how it works out. What am I doing here? How did this happen? He came to himself. He said, how many of my father's hired servants have bread enough to spare, and I'm starving to death? I'm going to get up from here. I'm going to rise. I'm going to go back to my father's house, and I'm going to tell my father, I'm no longer worthy to be your son. His self-worth dropped. You know, when you're in the wrong place with the wrong people, your self-worth will drop. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. Okay? So here it goes. See, this is the Bible's Halloween story. You're like, what? This is where this guy is trying to make people think that he's somebody that he's not. Isn't that Halloween? Right? So he's trying to make somebody think. So he was trying to prove to a whole bunch of nobodies that he was somebody. And then he ended up being nobody. Well, what the heck? Right? Okay, so now we're familiar with this because we've seen it play out in families all over the place. So it's men and women, it's the sons and daughters, the young and the old. What happens is we join ourselves to others, to other lives and other situations and other lifestyles that drain our inheritance, that drain our destiny from us, drain our self-esteem and drain our confidence. We've all been, see, people get involved in relationships that suck their self-esteem dry. People get involved in things that suck their resources dry. See, now, of course, there's stuff like drugs and alcohol, but it's other stuff like jobs, careers. There's stuff like sports and clubs and activities. There's stuff like friends. There's stuff like relationships and media, stuff like lifestyles. It's things that just cause us to drift farther and farther away from who we're supposed to be. See, when we're trying to be somebody, we join ourselves to other places and people, thinking it's going to lift us up, but it ends up dragging us down. Am I talking to anybody yet? Okay? All right? Now, now this story, Jesus is demonstrating to these guys, this is as bad as it gets, because this is a Jewish boy who's feeding pigs. This is like the bottom of the barrel. So in today's world, this would be like, you are not the guy with the pump that pumps out the septic tanks. You're the guy that washes it. Ew. Ew. I can get graphic here, but y'all leave you alone. Okay? But see, what you might not realize, this isn't the first story in the Bible where a son has tried to be somebody. Where he's tried to act like he's somebody when he's trying to prove to a whole bunch of nobodies that he's somebody. So there's a guy by the name of Jacob in the book of Genesis. He's trying to be somebody. So he does the same thing. He takes everything and he goes to a foreign place. Right? See, where this young man from Luke chapter 15 is trying to show the world that he's somebody, trying to get the world's attention. This Jacob boy in the book of Genesis, he's simply trying to get his father's attention. Okay? And so he's trying so hard to be somebody that he actually lost sight of everybody because he just focused on him. And it gets down to this is in Genesis chapter 32, verse 27, where this guy that he's wrestling with, this angel or pre-incarnate Christ, however you want to look at that, he's wrestling with, and he asks him this question, and he says, "What is your name?" And he responds, "I'm Jacob." And I think that there's more to this because he didn't just simply respond that this is my name. What he's saying is, this is who I think I am. This is who I'm trying to be. Now, Jacob means deceiver. He says, the person I have become is the person who's trying to manipulate the world around me to think more of me than I think of myself. See, I think in today's world, the conversation would have been more like this. Who are you? And I think Jacob's answer wouldn't have simply been Jacob. I think today he would have said, I don't even remember. I've got so far away from who I'm supposed to be. I'm not even sure anymore who I'm supposed to be. Am I connecting yet? Okay. So when he's asking this question, who are you? Who are you supposed to be? Somewhere along the line, I think, and this happens everywhere, that Jacob embraced what he was told that he was. Where he spent all of his days, all of his life, trying to be that person. Since it happens in today's world where you'll never be anything, you'll never amount to anything, you'll always be this, or you can't overcome this, you'll always be an addict, or you'll always be this mean person. So whatever it was, maybe it was told him, maybe it was something he told himself, but he's trying to be that, and that became his identity. But the deal is, that's not who he was supposed to be. Here's what I'm saying for you and I. The identity that you have allowed the circumstances of life to beat into your head, here's what I'm telling you, that's not who you are. Instead of trying to prove that that's right, instead of just simply accepting that's just the way it is, how about we have a completely different idea? How about if we say, you know what, who does God want me to be? What's God's plan for my life? Isn't that a better idea? So here's where this comes from. I wonder if the guys that Jesus was talking to in Luke chapter 15, I wonder if they connected the dots with the story of Jacob. And they all knew Jacob's story by heart. I wonder if they ever figured out that this is the story Jesus is talking about. That it's like the same guy, same problem, same issue. It's the same thing that people like you and me fight every day. Trying to prove to a world that doesn't care that we're more than what we really are. I don't know if we'll ever get their approval. See, maybe that's the identity that this young man, Luke chapter 15, was struggling with. He's trying to say, okay, I want to be this person, right? And see, here's the problem. So Jacob and this young man's world went completely dry. You know why? When we're trying to be somebody that we're not supposed to be, no life gets poured in. When you're spending life, and no life is being poured in, guess what? The well goes dry. Doesn't get any better. Okay? So here's my seed thought for this one. I'm going to pass this off to Louie in here in a second. I wonder, this is just, I have no background for this, but it just makes me think. I wonder if Jacob was never actually supposed to be called Jacob. I wonder if the whole time he was supposed to be Israel. And they just called him by what he wasn't supposed to be, and he thought that's who he was supposed to be. When the whole time God said, no, that's not who you are, this is who you are. I wonder if the whole time his title, his name, his identity was always wrapped up in God and not wrapped up as an environment. What do you think? Isn't that what happens to us? We get wrapped up in our environment, we kind of forget our identity because the name Israel means prince with God. You know what a prince is? It's the son of a king. So rather than being Jacob the deceiver, how about from the very beginning, what if he would have been told, you know what, you're the son of a king? You think that would have been a different outcome? So here's the deal. We will never fit into the life that we're trying to live when it's not that right life. You'll never fit in. Listen, no matter who you are, no matter what's going on in your life, if you're trying to fit into a life that you're not supposed to be into, you will never fit. Matter of fact, once you've accepted Jesus Christ, you will always suck at being a sinner. What are you talking about? It'll always feel weird, right? Check this out. Let's say you've been serving God and you get mad one day so you can prove something by being dumb. Let's just say. So you find yourself in a place doing dumb stuff. You're trying to act like you're having fun, and inside you're going, yeah, this is not good. Oh, shoot. And anybody ever had that experience? I'll tell on you. I will. All right? You'll never fit in. So here's the thing. You're not a pig farmer. You're not even a pig feeder. You're not. That's not who you are. I don't care how long you're there. I don't even care how much pig food you eat. You're not a pig farmer. You were born for something different. You were born again for something different. You were born into the kingdom of God to be something more than the world says that you are. You guys understand what I'm talking about, okay? You're not forgotten. You're not a failure. You haven't gone too far. And that's why Jesus is talking about this boy feeding pigs. It's as low as you can go. So Jesus is saying, if I could bring a guy back from this, can I bring you back from where you're at? See, I am a son of God. I am. You are a child of God. You are sons and daughters of the Most High King. You are the princes and princesses of the kingdom. That's who you're supposed to be, right? I am a man of promise. I am the one out of the 99 that he leaves the 99 and goes looking for me. I am the one that he thinks so much of and loves so much that he's even numbered the hairs of my head, and it's getting easier every day. In fact, I commented to somebody earlier, you guys are making it really hard for me to recognize you because all you guys are shaving your heads. Earl used to be a novelty, now he's just one. Spending time in the wrong places among the wrong people will give you the wrong idea about who you're supposed to be. Right, Louie?
That's right. You know, whoa, hey, hi there. Just kind of came out of nowhere. You know, have you ever had a relationship or a friendship that you just had to get out of? You know what I mean? Like it was becoming toxic. As Pastor was saying, sometimes we're in a friendship or relationship where they tend to, demean you, or maybe you feel like you never have a voice in it. You know what kind of relationship I'm talking about, right? Well, this somewhat happened to us a couple months ago, where we had this relationship. You know how you're a married couple and you have mutual friends and this and that. So we had this relationship. And I don't know. It was close. It was close. But then somewhere along the line, it wasn't so close anymore. Before we used to spend time together. We'd invite them into our home. They'd spend time with Zeke, and then it just kind of started to fizzle out. And to top it off, it was like you know how you have some relationships where they're asking for money a lot. It becomes more and more and more. Sometimes it's family. Like, I don't know. And so that's what was happening. So I told Jess, I go, we just need to stop. Like we need to cut ties. And it's hard to do. It really is hard to do. And for us, it was a difficult decision. But before we did that, I actually want to show you a quick photo. This is the relationship that we had to cut, and this is our relationship with Netflix. Right? We cut Netflix out of our lives. Can you believe that? Some of you are like, no. How could you, right? No. Yeah. Netflix got to a point for us where we just couldn't do it anymore, and then they bump up. I remember, for those of you that remember, like back in like the late '90s, early 2000s, it was like what, $5. And of course it was DVDs. There was no streaming service. Obviously things kept going and going and going. So for Jess and myself, we were like, no, we got to get out of this, and then we signed up for Disney Plus. So November 12th, we start streaming on Disney Plus. We're really excited about that. We actually signed up for an entire year. This is a new relationship for us. And we're signing up for an entire year, and when you like it, you got to put a ring on it. So we're like, dude, 1 year, yes. We got 2 free months off. And by the way, this isn't a commercial. However, yeah. However, just drop my name, I get $10 off. No, I'm just kidding. No, but really, we ended up signing up for Disney Plus, and we got this email that I thought was interesting. It said, this email, I was reading it, and I was reading it in my own voice, but it sounded like, congratulations. You are now founders of Disney Plus. Founders? We're founding members of Disney Plus? Because we gave you money, we're now found. It really kind of tweaked my mind, because I'm thinking, wait. I'm sorry. So you're saying we founded Netflix, or Disney Plus. You're saying Disney could not afford Disney Plus. Is that what you're saying? And I was like floored by that idea, but then it made me think, well, they're a marketing machine, dude. I wouldn't be surprised if the Antichrist isn't born from Disney, but they're a marketing machine, man. You know what I'm saying? They know how to market to every demographic out there. And what I found interesting in this is they spoke to the aspirations that I have. Wanting to be significant, wanting to make a difference in the world of Disney. I found it interesting that they found a way to speak to people that would make them feel more significant, more like they're a part of something greater, because in reality, man, we have a need inside of us that we want to be greater. We want to be better, We want to be a better parent. We want to be a better son, a better student. We want to get better grades. We want that pay raise. So to get those things, oftentimes we got to put in some work to do that. Work isn't bad. Performance isn't bad. The problem, however, is when we confuse performance with identity. You know what I'm saying? When I say things like, I want to be a great father, I want to be a good dad, and then I measure my entire world as a dad based on the way that I respond, I mean, that's not a bad way to measure it. It makes sense. If you're a good dad, you're present, you're kind, you don't lose your temper all the time, but then I tend to get stressed out and I'm not kind, and I tend to get anxiety and I'm not, you know what I'm saying? So all of a sudden, my wins and losses start to stack up, and I go, wow, I suck today. I must be a terrible dad. And when we confuse performance with identity, and they're not the same thing. It's not the same thing. And our culture tries to feed us this lie that somehow they are related, and don't get me wrong, performance can bring achievements and success. But your identity is knowing that self, that true self of who God made you long ago while you were still in your mother's womb. The scripture says that he knew you. He knew you. He knew me. But along the way, man, dude, being a dad, I'm telling you, I remember you guys, a lot of you guys, when I was going to become a dad, many of you came up to me and you were like, hey, oh man, it's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. One dad told me, he's like, listen, there's going to be times where you're just going to want to just leave, or you're going to want, don't do it. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, yeah, there's times where you're just going to want to, scream, and you're going to want to just smack them. And I was like, what the heck? No way. They're like, that's not true. I would never, ever lose my temper with my child. And so, yeah. And so, but then there was this one time, like somebody said something so good. They said, you know what? Like, being a parent, you're really going to see something, an aspect of God that you've never seen before. And what's crazy is having the vantage point that I have as a parent, watching my son, watching him navigate through social relationships, and then it happens so young, guys. It happens so young. I was thinking about myself. I'm like, at what point did I start to have those insecurities? At what point did I want people to like me? At what point did that begin? When did that all start? And I watch my son, and I hear him say things like, I'm going to take this book to school, and I hope everyone likes it. But when did that start? It starts so young. And I love what Pastor Dave was saying about Jacob and Israel. I love that idea, that concept just blew my mind. Actually, he had it in his notes, and I skimmed over it. But when he said it, last service, I thought, oh, mind blown. What if that was his name the entire time, but somebody gave him a different name? And that really led me down to this road, and I thought, man, what if our identity in Christ, again, while we were still in our mother's womb, God knew you. That means that before you were born, you had an identity already secure. But then all of these interactions that we have tend to bring insecurity. We tend to leave that self that God is calling us to, right? And it reminds me of the prodigal son, because I think of this story where the younger son, he's the younger son, and he's a part of a very wealthy and successful family. I wonder if maybe the older brother was successful as well. And I wonder if maybe, as Pastor was saying, he tried to leave to find his own identity, I have to get out of your shadow, Dad. I got to get out of I got to figure it out for myself. And that's not always a bad thing, but that can lead you to bad places. And all of a sudden, because of his performance, I screwed it all up. I lost all of the inheritance that I got. I have no friends. I got no job. I got nothing to do. Here I am. I'm starving to death. And now I have a job, and I hear it in the pig pen. So, and then he comes to this point where he starts writing this letter. Dear Dad, I screwed up. And I feel like I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. We can so easily skew our identity based on how we perform. Have you ever felt like you weren't worthy? You know what I mean? You weren't worthy of love. Let's be honest, dude. Half of us in this room, we can't even take a compliment right. You know what I'm saying? We don't know how to take it. Like, no, that's not me. No, that's not me. That's somebody else. We don't know how to take compliments. And all this down this road, and again, watching my son from this vantage point, I'm going, it starts so young. So what I decided to do as a father, and I've done it ever when he was born, but I've been doing it a lot more now because he needs it now. And I tell him things like, Zeke, you have no idea. You are a genius, bud. He's like, I can't do this, and I can't. No, it's okay. We're in this process, but you're a genius. And he goes, genius? What's that? He's 3.5. Like, you're a genius, bud. Like you're so much smarter than you think you are. And these creative ideas and these stories that you have, they blow my mind. Keep doing that. Man, I'm telling you, if you just do that, everyone, don't worry about them. They're going to like you for just you. Now, granted, that's at 3 years old, right? But here's what I'm realizing. With the prodigal son, he ran back home. Because in this mindset that he had, that I'm no longer worthy to be called your son, I've screwed it all too much, Like we lose our temper and we're no longer a good parent. We get bad grades, or we get that 1B. Actually, my gosh, Jess was telling me a story of somebody that was they had an old former student that killed their teacher for giving him a B. I was like, oh my gosh, Like, yeah, that's hardcore, dude. I was like, what the heck? Like, and this was like 20 years later. He caught up to her. He's like, you gave me that beat and it ruined my life. And bam. I was like, what? And I thought, that's psychotic. But how psychotic are we that we blame everybody else for those insecurities when really God is saying, no, I've already called you. You are a son. You are a daughter. And when he went back home, man, he realized that his identity was secure in his Father. And I guess what I'm saying today, man, for you and for me, man, this idea that our performance links to our identity is just not true. And instead of asking the question, who am I? Who am I? Maybe we should ask the question, whose am I? Who do I belong to? Who is my Father? Where does my identity come from? Where does that security come from? Because I'm telling you, man, God says my thoughts are not your thoughts. My ways are not your ways. And the pathways that your mind leads you down, God is saying, let me lift you out of that mess. Let me lift you out of that place of where you're at so that you can see and embrace the fact that you are uniquely you. And that self that maybe you lost when you were a kid because of all those insecurities you had. And we can get back to that place because your name was Israel the whole time. You know what I'm saying? There is something good about you the whole time. And so today, man, may we remember that the performance is not based on our identity, but our identity is secure because we are a son and a daughter of the living King. Pastor Dave, go.
Amen. Way to go. Yeah. You know, we're living in a performance-based world. Most of the stuff in our lives around us is performance-based. On the job, it's performance-based. If you want to get a raise, you have to perform to get that raise. Isn't that right? Is this thing working? Okay. Just checking. Louie seemed to be louder. I don't know. Oh, he was yelling. Okay. If you don't perform, you'll probably lose your job. Now here's the thing. So we try to think that is the criteria across the board, but that's not true. Because relationships are not based on performance, no matter what you think. This is our relationship. So what happens in this prodigal world is we're trying to be somebody that we're not, trying to perform what, and what happens to you and I, and what we don't realize is that we will never, ever get it right. My friend, you will always fall short. How many of you guys know that? When it comes to being a parent, fails are common. How many parents understand what I'm talking about? And you tell yourself, I'm going to be the perfect parent. Yeah, right. The best parents are grandparents. No, wait. You didn't let me finish. That's because they don't live with us. We just tickle, smile, send them home. If there's beatings to be done, I'm not your guy. Heard one guy talking about when his kids grow up and they realize how dysfunctional they are, and the counselor tells them it was the way that you were raised, and they come in and say, hey, Dad, you messed me up. He said, I got my answer figured out. Oops. Friends, we'll always fall short. There'll be days when you do really well, but it probably won't be every day. And what happens in life is the enemy of your soul will try to convince you that is now your new identity. You are a failure. You're not a great parent. You're not a great person. You're messing this all up. You can't ever get it right. They'll try to say that's who you're supposed to be. When the whole time, God is saying, my friend, that's not who you are. You are who I say you are. You are my son. You're my daughter. You are the child of the King. That's who I want you to be. So the failures and the stuff of life are trying to kill off the Israel in us, so the only thing we have left is the Jacob. And when we allow that to try to define us, when we allow our history to redefine our destiny, We find ourselves staying in places that we're not even supposed to be, tolerating things that we never thought that we would. And the image in the mirror never looks okay. Trying to kill off the Israel in me. There's this peculiar setting in the book of Numbers, chapter 16, where a plague is going through the people of Israel. A plague is going through Israel, trying to kill Israel. You guys get the connection already? And Moses turns to Aaron the priest and he said, go get some fire from the altar and put some incense into it. And I want you to take that fire from the altar and I want you to run into the middle of the dying. And where you decide to stand, the dying is going to stop. So here's what I'm saying for you and I. If we take fire from the altar and we run into the place in our lives where we're dying, and we take the fire from the altar and we make a stand right there, the dying stops here and the living starts here. That's what I'm talking about. You got to make a stand, my friend. You got to make a stand. Say, you know what? I refuse to be called Jacob any longer. I want to be who God said. I've been supposed to be Israel my whole life, and I've allowed them to get in my head and tell me that I'm less. I'm not going to put up with that anymore. So here's what happens to people like me. Sometimes I let the fire go out. Anybody ever let the fire go out? And sometimes you just get tired. Anybody just get tired? Come on, you know. Tired of all the stuff, or whatever verb you want to use. The struggles, the relationships, the problems, the failures, the costs. You wonder, is it worth it? Right? Highly inappropriate, but I'm going to say it anyway. Sometimes you just want to hang some mistletoe on the back of your shirt. You'll use that. I know you will. I warned you. Sorry. If that offends you, I don't know. I'm sorry. But you encourage me. That's what messes me up. Rekindle the fire. The stuff of life is trying to snuff it out all the time. I can't do anything about that. But you know what I can tell you? Friend, go get some fire from the altar. Go get some fire and you run to the place where the dying is. And where you decide to make your stand, my friend, the dying is going to stop and the living is going to start. I'm telling you, I'm making my stand today. I refuse to be what they say that I am. I am always going to be who He says I am. I am a child of the Most High God. I am a son of the King. I am who He says I am. I am one of the 99 that He leaves the 99 and He goes looking for somebody like me. I am the one where He's numbered the hairs of my head. I am the one where His thoughts of me are more in number than even the sand of the sea. I am who He says I am. I refuse to be the son of a pig farmer when I am the child of the King. I'm no longer worthy to be a son. That's impossible. Friend, that's impossible. Because my worth is not based on what I've done or what I do. My worth is based on who He is and whose son I am. I'm His son and I don't have to earn it. I just am. I'm not a hired hand. When he went back to his father with that line, I'm not worthy to be your son. Make me as one of your hired servants. His father wouldn't even let him finish. He went running to him, threw his arms around his neck, kissed his cheek, threw the robe around his shoulders, put new shoes on his feet, put the ring on his hand, and threw a celebration. Why? Not because you're a hired hand, but because you're my son, and my son has come home, and we stop the dying right here, and the living starts here. You don't have to be worth it because you already are. God looked at you today. He said, you are worth me giving my son for you. And this is where the dying stops and the living starts. Could I get you to bow your heads and close your eyes for just a moment, please? I just wondered today if there's some people in this house that you've been beating yourself up because of a failure, something went wrong, something happened, a relationship that went south, something you did wrong, something you shouldn't have said. You've been beating yourself up and you're trying to overcome that. That thought won't escape you. It keeps you up at night. Show me your hand. Show me your hand. Come on, come on, come on, come on. It's all over the place. It's all. I mean, say, you know what? I went off. I let my temper get the best of me. I just don't understand what happened. Come on. If you haven't raised your hand, you know you need to. Come on, come on, come on, come on. There it is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Question number 2. You're sitting in this house and you doubt yourself constantly. You've allowed the stuff of life to determine your self-worth. There's a parts of life that you think you can never get back. If that's you, show me your hand. Thank you. Thank you. Could I get you to all stand today, please? Will never be worth it to ourselves. Will always be worth it to Him. Think about this. There is so much value in who you are that God was willing to bankrupt heaven just to get you. Honestly, I wouldn't do that for you. Oh, really? After talking to you, I'm thinking, oh, heck no. Just playing. You know what? I know I shared this story a bunch of times, and we're running a little bit late, but we're okay. It's been a lot of years now, but I finally got to the place where I had a good relationship. Well, I finally had a functioning relationship with my dad. Finally. Years and years and years. We started having good talks, got along. And he actually told me that he was proud of me and he loved me. I couldn't remember ever hearing that before. I thought, wow, finally. And he died. I was crushed. Not just because he died, but I thought, really, God? It finally gets good, and what the heck? And I remember this as if it was today. I looked toward the heavens, and I said, who's going to be my father now? God spoke as plain can be. He just simply said, I am. I will always be his son. Always. He will always love me. He will always be proud of me. He will always stand beside me. You guys get what I'm talking about? So if you're the prodigal coming home, of course you feel bad. You should feel bad for being stupid. I mean, that should be part of it. But you'll always be his. Before we get any further, I want to open this up, and I want you to tell you, if you've been living a life where there's just been a lot of distance between you and God, for whatever reason, there could be millions of them. It's time to come home, friends. It's time to come home. So what I want to do right now is I'd like you guys to pray a prayer with me, okay? A coming home prayer. Not based on what you've done or didn't do or who you think you are. Simply based on His love for you. That's all. See, the only credit check that is run for you in heaven is His. I think you always qualify. Okay? So pray this prayer with me. Say, God, thank you that you gave your Son for people like me. You've considered me a son or a daughter, and I never thought I was worthy. So today I surrender everything. My past, my present, everything done to me, everything done by me. I give it to you. My life is now yours. I am your child. In Jesus' name. Shout amen. Yes. Welcome to our giant dysfunctional family. Now today we don't want you to carry your junk out, so we want to be able to pray with you. That's why the prayer partners are here. See, some of us, we carry all of our baggage in. Let's just leave it here. Don't carry the baggage out, okay? All right, Pastor Louie, come finish it up, buddy. See you guys.